Okay, hello everyone and happy Christmas to everybody. You and your family, I hope you have a great one. And if I don't get another video out before the new year, I hope you have a great new year as well. So look, the channel has gone mental this year. There was a couple of years I didn't do anything. I was very busy working away from home and stuff. And when I get home the weekends, there just wasn't time for videos and so on. So I didn't do any. Now I'm working closer to home and, you know, I can do videos. So anyway, I've done over 80 videos this year. Well, I think about 3 years ago I did 20 something videos, 23, 4 videos, something like that, on my waste oil burner experiments. And you know, I did make a successful waste oil burner. I'd seen some of the ones that were knocking around at the time, and there were some great ones, particularly one from Spike Osiert. He's got a great waste oil burner. It, you know, works kind of out of the box. It'll work. It's very forgiving, and it'll work no matter what way you do it, really, you know. Half the battle with these waste oil burners, you know, no matter what the design, is that you give it enough air. So if there's enough air going in, it'll make that roar. You know, you hear me say it in all the videos, you know, oh, do you hear that roar? And I'm still like a kid when I hear it, because I know when I hear that roar, if I've after been making a you know, some sort of a waste oil burner for a few days, or you know, a few hours, or whatever it takes, very often these things happen in my head. I just see what it is I want to make, and then very often it's a case of not having the parts around the place, or I'm going to repurpose something else I already have and recycle the thing. And what that does then is it means I can keep the amount of scrap really around the place down, because I look at something and go, yeah, you know what, I'm going to use that again, and I do, and I get another waste oil burner out of it. There's only so many times you can do that. You know, the piece gets too short, it's got too many holes in it, you can't weld them, it's the wrong shape, it's the wrong diameter, whatever, you know. And a lot of the time lately I have to go and get some bits. That last burner I made, the one with the 3-inch sides on it, and what looks like a pipe coming up the middle of it, that one was very cheap to make and very easy to make, but that one came about because of deficiencies maybe in the previous design, especially when it came to cleaning it. But anyway, that's how the waste oil burner stuff happened. I just kind of have an idea what it is I want to make, do a little sketch, and then make it. Very often they're rough and ready, you know, but if I hit on a successful design, it won't win awards for welding or wherever, but you know, they work and they heat my shed, which is fantastic. This is just a Samsung S7 Edge. Very decent phone. Half you're going to hate me for this. I don't actually like iPhones, so I prefer the Android version. So I know they're not secure and all of that, but I just prefer the operating system. I don't use Apple Mac software either. I generally tend to use Windows. People were asking me lately about the software I use for editing and so on. Now look, I've tried to up my game with the editing. I tried to get in and learn a whole bunch of stuff. So, you know, I'm on YouTube and I'm checking things out. I'm using Adobe Premiere Pro, I use Photoshop, and I use Adobe Audition then to try and correct some of the sound problems I've been having. So because I've been having problems, I've learned quite a bit, because I had to try and fix quite a bit. Okay, so there's not an awful lot to see. We're on a motorway. This is the N11. I'm heading to Dublin from Wexford, and you just, I'm not over the road. Yeah, you just get to see, you know, the state of the Irish roads, or you know, get an idea of it. But as I was saying, 23,000 subscribers is just mental, and it's growing. I don't know, 4,000 or about 3,500 people jumped in last month, and thanks very much everybody. And about the same I think this month, so that's just crazy. Anyway, look, I know the videos are crap. I know that the sound in the videos are terrible and the lighting is bad and all of that. I don't know if that adds to the ambience, but it's not great. I'll try and improve it now in 2018. We'll see what happens. So I have plans for a waste oil boiler, you know, something to run on waste oil and heat water. I have a couple of plans in mind. There's one I can throw out very quickly, and it's a cruder version of you know, number 2. So if you're gonna make one of these stoves, boiler stoves, wait around maybe till video number 2, because there's going to be a difference in it. But I learned, the thing is, it's like always, I learn an awful lot from the first one. I'll see what's working, what's not working, and then I'll come up with a solution and modify it. You know, the problem with some of this stuff is it's low tech. You're making a ton of heat, you know, a nuclear amount of heat, and so you don't need everything as efficient as you would if you're paying top dollar for every, you know, litre, every pint of fuel. So generally, you know, people give me the fuel. I try to use vegetable oil as much as I can. When I can't get it, then I use, you know, motor oil for heat. Now, I don't require an awful lot of heat in the shed. I'm not always out in the shed, and I don't use motor oil in the house. So, you know, generally for the house, in summer I have kind of solar for hot water, and in winter then, you know, I have a log burning stove. It does other sorts of solid fuel. It's in some of the videos. I actually did a quick conversion on it and had it running on waste oil just as a proof of concept. But that was only for 2 videos, and I took it out then. So if I'm not using the solid fuel stove, I'm using a condensing boiler. Allegedly 97% efficient, which is very efficient, and as it turns out, it is good. Okay, so I'm going to change the camera around. But we've got rain. This is Christmas Day, typical in Ireland, and I was talking to a couple of people last night. My son is in Australia at the moment, and 40 degrees or 42 degrees or something, and I would just melt. I'm not built for that, definitely. Maybe for the cold, the damp gets to me as well, so I have a problem with my lungs at the moment, which is kind of minimising my shed time too. So in 2018 I'm going to need to get a few things. I need to get a plasma cutter. I need to spend about €1,000 on a camera, you know, Canon 80D or something like that, so I can get better video quality, because I struggle big time. I have skylights in the roof of my shed, and the problem with the skylights is they're great, you know, they let light in, but they really mess up my camera. And so light comes in, I'm using fluorescent lights as well, and between the two of them the camera just goes mental. And very hard, I'm fighting it all the time. If the sun moves, which it does, or a cloud goes across the front of it, that's it, I have big problems. Okay, I'd love to fix the paramotor. It's about $700 to €700 for a cylinder head, piston, gudgeon pin, and a few other bits and pieces I need for, you know, seals and a whole lot. And I'm not certain about the carburetor either. So they're a performance engine, and they're expensive as well. Bitterazzi make it. It's a Bitterazzi Mazda 185. They're about $1,800 or €1,800 new. So quite expensive, and it's holding me back. I'd love to get back in the air. Now I know I go paragliding, I go running off mountains as well, but I have a bit of a chest problem, and cold, damp weather affects me, so I haven't been doing any flying either. So there you go. I'm knackered. I'm stuffed up. So there's 23,400 odd subscribers now, people following the channel, and it's great. Thank you very much. It is great having you on board. I know I don't get back. I try to get back to all the messages. So sometimes I'm a few days late, sometimes I miss them, but for the most part I get the bulk of them. Sometimes when you send messages or Facebook stuff, I'm not always on, well, I'm very rarely on Facebook, to be honest, but when I get there, then I try and answer whatever I can, or try and answer them in a video. We'll have to get the discussion thing, the community thing going, or something, because there's a lot of questions people ask, you know, when they're new to the channel. Very often what you're looking for is actually in the playlist, and very often, you know, people just don't know where to look and where to see stuff. So there's quite a few videos in the playlist. They're organised into paramotor and waste oil burner stoves and forced air stoves and all that sort of stuff. So quite a bit of stuff in there. Yeah, I think there's 109 videos up at the moment. Most of them crap, most of them terrible. But I do try and kind of keep things moving along if I can. And you know, I give an honest thing. If I say there's no smoke, there's no smoke at the time. I've made tons of smoke. You know, trying to perfect something. You put it in, it's not getting enough air. You make some more holes in it. You tighten something up. You know, maybe my flue, the integrity of my flue is not good. But I have found that I have 6-inch flue going to my stoves. You know, 6-inch all the way up, and it goes up maybe 14 feet, 4 meters or thereabouts above the stove. So if you include the stove in it, we're up over 5 meters. And without that amount of flue, without that length of flue, I just wouldn't get the suction required to keep the thing going. I have found too, on windy days, or don't have to be really windy, but I'm on top of a hill. Where I live is on top of a small hill. It's up about, I don't know, 450 feet or something. But it's enough. But all the wind from the coast comes in, has to go over my house, and then heads inland because I'm on the coast, or 10 kilometers in from the coast. You want to see that actually. I flew to the beach a few times, and on the paragliding channel, there's links in some of the videos then to my paragliding channel. So I don't know, about 10 years ago I started making YouTube videos. It's just for me and the friends. They only have a few hundred views and a few hundred or 160 subscribers or something. So never a big channel. I'm in the Irish Hang Gliding and Paragliding Association, and it's really just us looking at each other's videos. You know, you go flying with a few mates and they're in the air, you get some video footage of them, you know, they want to see how their wing looks from above or below or from behind or whatever, and we do that. YouTube is a funny old thing, you know, recording yourself is a funny thing to do. It's not something that comes natural to me. I know I'm doing it, and doing it a while. When I was paragliding, you never saw my face, you just see my feet, my hands. Sometimes I talk, very rarely. Actually, on the paramotoring ones, you can hear me talking, but you don't really see me. And it was just that the channel was in decline back in March, or February or March, when I kicked back on this year. And the channel was just going backwards all the time. So I jumped in and tried to stymie that, you know, try to stop that happening. And what happened then is, it did start to grow, but it was very slow. And then, you know, I knew that if I could kind of keep it alive until the heating season kicked in, that we'd get a bit of growth. Well, you know, that had been the pattern, even without my input, the last couple of years, and it's happened this year as well. One of the videos I did back in March, where I prototyped a different type of waste style burner. I just wanted to make up something fairly quick just to see if it would work at all. So the plan was, I had a few biscuit tins around the place, sweet tins, and I just chopped them up really quick with a scissors or a side cutting pliers or whatever. And actually I think in the video I just knocked it out with a chisel and put it together, put it in the stove. Suction was good on it, it worked really well, it was a great start. And from there then off we went again. But that particular video took off, and then when I saw that, then I had another biscuit tin thing in mind, and I threw that together, and then that took off as well, and then, you know, the channel began to grow again. If you're looking for something, you know, with a boiler in it, I've done boiler stove stuff before where I heated lots of hot water. Didn't get an awful lot of views, but it made an awful lot of heat, it made an awful lot of hot water. Around my house has gone green these days. Moss, the place has been wet, like we've had an awful lot of rain this year, and the moss has just thrived. So, you know, all my painted surfaces have gone green. Now, you can still see through to the paint, but you know, it's not great. So what I wanted to do, rather than kind of hit the house out of it with kind of loads of chemicals, is I'll put some chemical in the solution. I'll use superheated hot water through the pressure washer, and it'll soften the stuff up easier than cold water going on them, and it'll blow them off the house. And then I'll treat, you know, what's left with some chemical. That way I'll use less of it. So that's the plan. But I've quite a bit to do, footpaths and a whole lot around the house, which is why I want a lot of hot water. So I reckon, you know, based on the one I did a few years ago, I reckon I was making 80 US gallons, 300 litres per hour, and I was getting it to 100 degrees. So that was, and that was from ambient temperature, whatever that would have been at the time. Probably, I can't remember the time of year to be honest, but say it was maybe 8 or 10 degrees or centigrade. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. So anyway, and I was able to make a lot of water. I was using a conventional oil boiler without its burner, and I was using Ozir's Spikes design burner into the bottom of that. One of the advantages my design has over Spikes is brilliant now, don't get me wrong, it's really good. One of the advantages my one has is it can actually fit inside the stove, whereas Spikes one, I have to have it under the stove. It's quite long, it's about a foot long at least. My one works a bit different, and I have a design in mind as well that's going to work different again. Similar, but more stages to it, and that's going to come up. I'm going to give that a shot. So So yeah, all the time thinking. But there's only so many waste oil stoves I can make. You know, hit on a really good one, and that'll be it. But as it is, I can heat my shed no problem. Very little cleanup to do the next morning, that sort of crack. And it doesn't use a ton of oil, and I can be warm in the shed. And my shed really hemorrhages heat. It has no ability to hold on to heat. So I'm making it, I might as well be standing out in the cold, you know, out in the wind. Yeah, that's the only benefit the shed has, it does keep the wind off me. At some stage now, hopefully in 2018, I'll get to insulate the shed and be able to hang on to the heat longer. A lot of people asking actually for a smaller waste oil burner, you know, something that will do, I don't know, much smaller sheds or that sort of thing. With the type of stove, the type of burner that I use, you know, you need to keep a chamber red hot, otherwise when the fresh oil comes in, it will cool that down and overwhelm the burn process. And once it's not red anymore, it won't atomize the oil. So how small we can go with it, I'm not sure, but certainly if we're using compressed air or forced air, say a little fan, well then that means we can miniaturize it quite a bit. So look, I'll start one. I'll come up with a design, I'll start one, and we'll take it from there. People asking about the siphon nozzle thing as well. I had a kind of a problem with the siphon nozzle. I couldn't get the flame to stay attached, and I had lots of other stuff to do, so I just kind of pushed it to one side and thought, okay, I'll get back to you, and I'll do that in a couple of weeks. When I get this waste oil stove or this waste oil boiler working, let's move out here. When I get that working, I'm going to use the other unit on it, the siphon nozzle build on that. So I have a few things to do. So in the next couple of weeks, I'll get around to that, and we'll see some progress there. So that's it. Other than that, I'd love to go running off mountains and paragliding, paramotoring, and I have to get up and get that weather station down as well. Again, it needs to come down for maintenance. So yeah, that's where we're at the moment. So look, I'm going to end it there. It's rambled on for hours now at this stage. Well, not hours. I'm about an hour from where I'm going in Dublin. Okay, so I've arrived. I'm going into one of these apartments here now. One of the kids lives here, and that's it then. So I might end the video here. I'm not sure. If I do, have a great Christmas. Have a great New Year. If I don't get another video up, I'm sure I will. And thanks very much for all the support. If I could buy you all a pint, I would. Okay, bye for now. Thanks very much. Bye bye.